Hello, educational technology community. I am Eric Green, and today I am presenting Kinective, my affective state tracking system. Kinective is an affective tutoring system, which is a subdomain of intelligent tutoring systems. Intelligent tutoring systems are systems which provide course content for learning to students, collects data, and will also give the student ability to do continuing research. These systems have become very popular because they have a much more higher effective rating than traditional classroom scenarios in the domains which they've been implemented on, and they're almost as effective as one-on-one tutoring. Now, there are several weaknesses that keep the ITS from being as effective as direct tutors, and part of this is because they're missing out on behavioral and emotive detection. For example, the assistance dilemma. ITSs typically give too much information to students without requiring them to do in-depth disciplinary research, and so they're also more vulnerable to guesstimate states and pass-fail conditions, basically answering until you get an answer correct. And you'll see that's part of this system as well, but we actually attempt to address it by redirecting focus whenever focus is being lost, and by providing interventions. And so we'll give a variety of opportunities to address a specific behavioral trait, such as falling asleep, not being engaged. So let's talk about this system. You'll see we're actually using this system to record this video. This is a Kinect version 2 stream, and I'm using characteristics to the right, such as left eye, right eye, and focus to determine engagement. I can determine, get certain characteristics to use in machine learning to determine what scenario a student is more likely to gain knowledge and have good results in their understanding of and comprehension of lectures or and reading documentation. So let's talk about the system a little bit. This is built on 5 layers. We have the input detection layer, which is the Kinect API and the computer vision, and then this feeds into the intervention provider layer. The intervention provider will actually fire the correct intervention down to the course provider, but it sits directly over the decision algorithm layer. The decision algorithm layer is the machine learning using a naive Bayes approach to classify what optimal interventions to apply depending on the input. And then this sits over historic student data, which is also consumed by the course provider, which is the course provider system that I've actually developed, which is the most complicated portion of this prototype. This allows video, document feedback, provides questions, and allows course creation and modification. And so we'll actually cover that a little bit. The naive Bayes approach I'm using, I use 5 handles, the intervention. Currently in this prototype, I have 4 active intervention types. The effective percentage I'm using is effective data points divided by data points, and this is for the lifetime of the intervention. There's a decay function, so you're not heavily penalized for one bad day or a handful of bad days where you're just not focusing. Say you fell asleep while a gradual intervention was running. The applicability will be specific or general. For example, replace module, not all modules can be replaced, so that would be a specific application. General application would be pop-up and label flash. Effectiveness is either going to be true or false, which is determined by a floor effective percentage per each intervention. And then we have gradual, delayed, or immediate interventions. The gradual intervention would be like a label flash, where we want to be flashing the screen early to try to refocus before we're below our effective rating. Or a pop-up would be an immediate, basically a nuclear option, where we're trying to refocus the students' attention and stop all the current course activity, and then gauge the get the student to make sure that they understand that they need to focus on the actually pay attention, be engaged in order to pass the module. So we will cover now, I'll actually show you how we can create a course. So we go to the admin view. This is very simple right now in this prototype. There will be about 4 more operations in the release, the final release, which will probably take me about a year to create the complete system using this technology. So I have a handful of extant courses. We're going to actually add a new rule set. I'm going to say logical equivalence, and I'll add this rule set, and we'll add a couple rules. We'll name the first rule substitution video. We'll require this, and we'll give it a media path. And these are our current resources that can be consumed by any of the courses. So let us look at logical equality, and we'll select this. We'll require engagement level of, say, 80%. And another option is we can replace with, now we actually have to pull from the same rule sets. I will do substitution document. I will not require this. This is a replacement. You can require the replacements, but you don't have to, and I'm not going to in this situation. And I will say this is fine, so I can actually use substitution document. So I can. This is the specific. This allows it for a specific intervention, the replace module, to occur. Since we saved the session modules, I'm going to create a couple questions. First off, let me pull up the logical equality document. This is what we selected as our second course, our backup course. So let's create a couple questions from here. Let's say we'll say substitution. Since we have a multiple choice true, false, or short answer, we're going to create a true, false to the document alone. And so we'll do true, false. We'll say TF question 1. And we'll say the question, if A equals B, then FA equals FC. Now this is clearly false, so we'll commit this question. Then we can go to multiple choice, and we can multiple choice question 2. We'll say if A equals B, then A plus C, and B equals, and I can add multiple answers here. B plus C divided by C multiplied by C. We'll make the first question subtracted, and then we select the correct answer. So we've committed our questions, and we can go to the actual course content, and now we're going to actually select our program. We'll select logical equivalence. We'll start the module. And you can see I'm currently sitting at engaged. This gives the real time, but I have a smoothing focus, so it's not going to constantly update on a trigger happy input, but this will give me my real time update. Right now I have a ½ second smoothing function. This is not going to be sitting on the smoothing function, but I want to look away from the screen. You see my engaged delta decreases. Now we're going to actually start some trigger warnings. Like first off, we had the label flash, and then I looked away again, and now it gives me the opportunity to choose an alternate module. I select the alternate module, and this is the PDF that we created. And so now I can read this PDF, and then it'll trigger the questions that we created in the question module. Well, if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. Correct. And then if A equals B, then FA equals FC. Well, this is clearly false unless A equals B equals C, which is not in the assumed. So we select this answer. We select 2 out of 2 questions correctly. This course system allows you to pass at a certain percentage. Like right now, I've triggered it to pass to trigger at 75%. So 2 out of 2 is clearly 100%, and so that's a passing scenario. But that's adjustable up to the course provider or the tutor, the head tutor. And so let's go to the questions. One of the powerful aspects of the system is the scaffold questioning. This will actually consume all the questions that you can either keep the questions separate or you can consume the questions, and this allows you to actually determine the path for the questions so that depending on the student's answer, you can direct them to a different question. Now, you don't have to go through all the question paths. You can add 20 questions, and I do have this for one module. You have 20 questions, and if they answer everything correctly, they're only going through 4 of those questions. But if they answer incorrectly, then you try to focus on their understanding of a specific subject. So for this, I'll say if we'll just recurse to the same question if we answer incorrectly. So if A equals B, then A plus C equals B minus C. That's clearly wrong, so we'll go ahead and attach this as incorrect, and we'll go ahead and go to the true-false question if this is correct. Now we are sequentially start from the top, so that the highest priority is going to be the first one that's asked. So we've attached these 2 questions. I'm not going to bother with the bottom 2. Then if A equals C, well, that's clearly false, so we're going to have to go back. I'll actually recurse back to the first question, and we have to go through that chain again. If false, then I attach nothing, and we're done. We pass at that point, or we get the results at that point. So we commit this question. I'm going to also go back and update the logical equivalence module. I'm going to delete the first one. I'm going to require the document alone and save my session changes. Clicked it to the bottom of the screen. Now I go back to the learning view and we start logical equivalence. And now you see we didn't trigger the video, instead we just triggered the document. And once I read this document, I can select next, and it'll give me the option to select B minus C. Well, that's incorrect. Well, I can select the correct question. Now this, if I answer incorrectly because of our scaffolding, we actually go back to the first question. And so this makes sure they're not engaging, just answering questions and getting them correct without understanding why they are getting correct. So this gives you the opportunity to create a scaffolding approach. One of the big aspects of this is I'll tie this into my future system, which will contain a natural language processing. So I'll actually have vocal feedback, and that will be part of the scaffolding approach. And so I will answer the correct answer, and you see I passed by answering 3 out of 5 questions correctly. So now we can complete, and I could choose different modules such as math, but now I'm going to actually go to the data view. I'm going to look at how I did in the logical equivalence module. And since I fired that up twice tonight, after I created the course module, I can look at either sample, and I can look at all the handles, or I can look at the interventions that we provided. We provided a pop-up intervention, a flashing label, and then we did not provide any of the alternate programs in the first intervention, but we did in the second intervention. All right, well, this is the base system. It's this course provider system is fairly well tested. I've got a lot of data samples with success. The Bayes algorithm is working fairly thoroughly, and I'm able to detect engagement over a long period of time and over many data samples. Thank you very much for watching my demonstration. Take care.